Can you imagine what might happen if Washington decides to go all in to win now? Because there's an elite offensive weapon out there on the market, and he could flip this season upside down. But that's not all. A veteran might be on the chopping block before training camp even starts, and the name will shock a lot of fans. Plus, the running back position could ignite if the front office makes the right move. Is the rebuild over, or is this just the start of something bigger? Drop your thoughts below. If you believe in the return to glory, hit that like button and stick with me. If you still get chills thinking about Art Monk snagging a ball in triple coverage with ice in his veins, then listen up. Washington has a real shot to bring in a guy who, even at 30, can teach this roster a ton. I'm talking about Amari Cooper. Yup, the same Cooper with 5 Pro Bowl nods and some of the slickest route running in the NFL. And get this, he's still out there on the market, and nobody knows why. Picture this. You've got Jaden Daniels, the offensive rookie of the year, a kid with an arm, wheels, and fire in his gut. Now pair him with a receiving core of Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, and Amari Cooper. That's a straight-up arsenal. Cliff Kingsbury would have a good problem. How do you spread the ball around with that much talent? And this ain't just hype, folks. Cooper has 7 1,000-yard seasons. He's physical, smart, knows how to outsmart defenders, and uses his frame like a pro. Don't tell me you forgot him torching secondaries back in Dallas. He can still do it. Especially with a QB who trusts him and an O-line that holds up, and Washington's building just that. Here's the kicker. Cooper wouldn't come to be the lone star. He'd be the glue, the reliable vet who converts third downs when the stadium's shaking, who teaches the young guys how to sell a route with a shoulder twitch. Plus, he'd open up space for Deebo to wreak havoc and let Luke McCaffrey grow without pressure. But let's keep it real. If Cooper comes, someone's gotta go. And here's the deal, my friends. A big name with a $10 million contract is already on thin ice. The front office has to be ruthless. You can't build a championship team with sentimental attachments. Joe Gibbs taught us that decades ago. Would you pull the trigger on Cooper now, or save the cash to bolster the defense? Because the truth stings. Missing this chance could cost them in January. And what's coming next will have you second-guessing everything. Remember when being a starter on the Redskins' offense was an honor reserved for the elite? Well, those days are back. In the team, Dan Quinn's building, no one's safe just because of a name or a contract. And the guy who might get the boot, and deservedly so, is KJ Osborne. KJ who? Exactly, that's the point. Osborne showed up with some credentials from Minnesota. Had a few decent moments, sure, but nothing to inspire blind faith. He went through New England, got cut, we grabbed him off waivers. And you know what he did in the playoffs? Nothing. Didn't even make noise from the bench. So here's the question fans need to face. With Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, Jalen Lane, Michael Gallup's return, and Luke McCaffrey's growth, where does Osborne fit? He's not the fastest, not the strongest, not the most technical, and he's pulling a $1, $2 million to do what? Watch the game in a helmet. Truth is, Adam Peters and Dan Quinn are turning this roster into a competitive machine. No room for complacency or big names with no production. It's perform, or pack your bags. And let's be clear, cutting Osborne isn't just about performance, it's financial. The team could save over $700,000 by letting him go before week 1. That money could easily go toward a real veteran, someone who steps on the field and changes the game. This reminds me of the Gibbs era, when he'd cut players who didn't fit, the vision without blinking. You don't win Super Bowls by keeping a roster full of shiny resumes. Now imagine Amari Cooper actually lands here. Osborne's fate is sealed. Even if Cooper doesn't come, Jalen Lane's shown more burst and hunger in minicamp than Osborne's shown since leaving Minnesota. Fact is, unless Osborne has the preseason of his life, he might as well start packing. And if he's gone, no one who watched Art Monk or Gary Clark will miss him. But hold up, because the backfield might be about to get even spicier. When we say Washington's aiming high, it's not just talk. The name floating around now is one that keeps defenders up at night: JK Dobbins. And before anyone hits me with that, "Oh, but he's injury-prone" nonsense, let me remind you, football's always been a high-risk game. When the talent's legit, the risk is worth it. And Dobbins, his talent is undeniable. In 2024, he racked up 905 yards and 9 touchdowns. 9. And that's after a history of injuries, proving he's still got plenty in the tank. At 26, he knows the NFL's physical style, and more importantly, he finds holes and turns routine plays into big gains. He had 27 runs of 10-plus yards last year. That's the kind of dynamism this offense needs. Now look at the picture. We've got Brian Robinson Jr., a tough, reliable bruiser. We added Austin Eckler, a vet who still brings it, especially catching passes. There's rookie Jackery Krosky-Merritt from the draft, plus Chris Rodriguez, and Jeremy McNichols fighting for spots. But which of those guys has Dobbins' explosiveness between the tackles? Who can be a defensive coordinator's nightmare in an 11-personnel set with McLaurin, Samuel, and Dobbins on the field together? Exactly. None of them. And here's the cherry on top. Dobbins played with Terry McLaurin in college. They know each other, respect each other. That builds chemistry, speeds up the fit. In a league where time to gel is tight, that matters. Oh, and don't forget, he's available now. No one's waiting around. If Washington doesn't move, another contender will. Then we'll be stuck watching him shred defenses in someone else's jersey, left with what-ifs. So here's the question. Do you want a team that's legit in January, or a cute roster full of potential? Bringing in Dobbins, even with his injury history, is a bold move. It's the kind of gamble that screams this team's done playing around. They're aiming for a Super Bowl, not moral victories. And speaking of bold, brace yourself, because the reality check coming next might sting, but it's what we need. If anyone tells you the Commanders aren't Super Bowl contenders, tell them to watch this again. Because if Amari Cooper joins, KJ Osborne gets cut, and JK Dobbins walks into that locker room, we're looking at a legit, deep, and winning-minded offense. It's not a stretch to say this could be the most balanced roster since the Joe Gibbs era, but only if they've got the guts to make the right cuts and the right additions. So what do you think? Is this team already tougher than anything we've seen since the 90s? Drop your take below. Hail to the Commanders.